Thank you, everybody, for joining Radicalized Truth Survives for a breaking news special today. We love our breakers. We have allies all over the world who bring us stories, and we very much appreciate that. Today, we have a story coming out of Central Florida. We are going to introduce you to Undercover Mother. Undercover Mother was a Republican. She is now an activist on behalf of gay rights. She is very mindful of the fact that there is a nationwide effort to try to deny gay rights, quite frankly, in ways that we have not seen in our country. It's very unprecedented. It's part of the authoritarian capture that we report on a lot. So we are going to bring in Undercover Mother, who actually went undercover in Moms for Liberty. And she is going to bring you some incredibly shocking information, but she's also going to show you what one mother can actually do to affect change in her community. All right, so we're going to go ahead and we're going to keep Jane. We're going to go by Jane Doe right now. That is going to be our moniker for you. We're going to keep you off camera. As you can see, our Undercover Mother avatar is quite lovely. Jane, why don't you tell us what was happening in 2020 that made you go undercover, and specifically what made you go undercover to essentially investigate Moms for Liberty?
So basically in 2020, everything was so divisive leading up to the 2020 election that I just felt it was time to kind of get some inside information as to what's going on, so that the people of us that were doing the right thing would know what to expect and be prepared. So I set up a Facebook account and quickly, with a Trump profile, and quickly gained almost 2,000 friends from around the world. So by the time I got with Moms for Liberty, I had been online for maybe a year and a half. So my profile wasn't new. I had a bunch of followers. I had different postings on my account, so it looked pretty legit. I got on their site because I needed to know what was happening. We were being attacked. The LGBTQ community was being attacked. Parents are being attacked in the school system. Kids were being ostracized and persecuted. And I needed to know what was behind this and how we can counteract it.
So Jane, I find it very fascinating that you basically did what the St. Petersburg troll operation out of Russia did, which you created a fake profile, but rather than use it to exploit Americans and do divisive wedging, what it's called, where it tries to tear people up and make people hate each other, you actually used it for good, to try to find out who was behind some of the divisive narratives in your community. And what did you actually find out when Moms for Liberty started posting on your Facebook page?
I found that they were even worse than I even imagined. I knew that there was rumors of them being homophobic and racist and everything, and I found that it was even worse. They're transphobic, they're homophobic, they're xenophobic.
All the phobics. And
all the phobics.
Where do you think it was coming from? Like, where do you think they were getting it from? Some of my investigations have people getting radicalized online. Some of them have it, these talking points in their churches. Do you think these people were just inherently racist and homophobic, or do you think that they were being radicalized?
They were being radicalized by the governor.
Oh my God.
The governor, they're in direct connection with the governor. They have met him in person. There's pictures of these members with the governor, and everything that the governor is imposing now and the bills that are getting signed are in exact alignment with Moms for Liberty.
Oh my gosh. And we're talking about Governor Ron DeSantis. And how did you feel when you figured that out?
Well, as a former Republican, um, and at the time I was still registered as a Republican, it was then that I decided, okay, I don't recognize the Republican Party anymore. I never in my life been part of this where it's persecuting a certain marginalized population and launching attacks. So I immediately changed my voter status and started aligning myself with the right people that are protecting our children, genuinely protecting our children.
You know, Jane, how do you feel being a mother who has, a gay child or gay children, and having the governor with this cabal of bigots trying to impose how you're supposed to parent your kid and what your children, what they're forcibly denying for your children?
Well, the idea of it being parents' rights is an absolute slap in the face because my rights are being taken away. And worse than that, my child has no rights. They're not getting the same rights to education as these one particular group that's making all the rules. And they're making these rules based off of their hatred and off of their religion. And they're trying to infiltrate our schools with religion. Everything is based on their religious beliefs. And everything else, they think that they're saving the children from sin in our school.
It sounds so un-American. It is just it's absolutely shocking. Hi Fi, why don't you jump in?
So one of the questions I have for you, um, it seems to me that there's been extensive research done on Moms for Liberty, and that they are a Council for National Policy funded organization. Um, Another point we like to make on our podcast is that we are undergoing class war. Basically, we have all these billionaires who are doing everything in their power to divide people, to spread hate and to spread racism. And based on what you saw in this chat group, does it seem like these, the people who are funding these groups, are they paying for hate to be spread?
That's a good question. And that wasn't something I was able to find out by participating in these groups. A lot of it is just their ideology, that they're on that extreme Christianity and the idea that anybody that doesn't look like them, worship like them, or love like them is the enemy and they're sinners and they need to save the children from that world.
Well, yeah, thank you for that. Hi-Fi, you brought up an interesting point as well, because we've actually seen some of the screenshots, which we're going to be sharing with our viewers. But we also noticed that the hypocrisy runs pretty deep, because as they're trying to, quote, save the children with their imagery of a rainbow being outside of an umbrella, which I find super disgusting. Your investigation found that some of the people who participate are actually, I can't think of a better word than skanky.
Yeah,
So, like,
yeah.
is there some hypocrisy there?
There's a lot of hypocrisy. We had several school board members and prior school board members and school board candidates that didn't make it through participate on this forum. And, they pretend like they're holier than thou and that they're just better than everybody else. And the rest of the world is sexualizing the children. And what they mean by that is anything that's not heterosexual. So apparently, you can sexualize as long as it's heterosexual. And one of our school board members, there's been some pictures circulating in some very questionable outfits. The same type outfits that Governor DeSantis would probably criminalize if it were a person of a different gender. So a drag queen or a trans person. So there's a lot of hypocrisy going on, and it is skanky. You're right.
I was trying to come up with a more elegant word, but I just had to go full skank. It just there's no
And I have seen some of these photographs that we're talking about, and it seems to me that the individual in question has most likely undergone some sort of gender affirming surgery.
Yeah, she's very well endowed.
Yeah.
There's no doubt, and they do not look real. And again, that's okay for heterosexuals, but it is not okay for somebody that might have been born male, that you use any enhancements. That's not okay, apparently, according to the governor and Moms for Liberty. So they're trying to save the children because they think that all of us parents and all of the teachers are indoctrinating their children to be gay and transgender.
Which doesn't happen, by the way.
No.
These are all. So what in all seriousness, what these people do not realize is that fascism, which is what this is, comes for everybody. So they may think that it's just this group and they can all gang up against the gay community or trans youth or whatever. But they don't realize that ultimately it's about controlling everybody and everybody's bodies and women's bodies. When Roe was overturned, that was essentially what happens under authoritarian capture, where they just denied healthcare rights to half the population. So I don't think that the people who have been radicalized to believe that they are holier than thou don't realize that ultimately they come for them too. So next time they go to try to get their surgery, they might find out that their drugs are not available. So it's very frightening. And we look at Florida as a laboratory of autocracy. And I think this is a perfect example of it. When you were in your chat groups as an undercover mother, what were some of the most shocking things that they said that made you just realize how profoundly disturbing this movement was?
Oh gosh, there was quite a few moments, everything ranging from what we're talking about with the transphobia to extreme racist comments and xenophobic comments. Just a lot of it just really showed how much they think that they're supreme. They're definitely supremacist. I can give you a few examples of a couple different topics. They, for example, the xenophobia, there was when the immigrants were being shipped away to New York and to other places and to Washington, D.C. I noticed that the Moms for Liberty's views on immigration was just send them back where they came from. And if that's not the most insensitive comment to make, it just shows their true colors for sure.
Yeah, well, we also learned that part of how this whole thing works is to dehumanize people. This is what they did in Nazi Germany. Make people less than human. If you dehumanize people, it gives people the mindset that it's okay to have this sort of self-righteous attitude where they're superior and others are less than. And that is exactly what America should not be about. Is there any lines or something that was said that really sticks in your head as something that is incredibly disturbing that our viewers should know about?
Definitely their views of lower class and different religions and other organizations that don't represent people like them. So, for example, when the school board elections were happening and our new school superintendent was coming on board, there were some forums where you can go and you can meet the new superintendent, and some of the candidates would be there. And it just so happened that NAACP was hosting one of these events in one of our South County churches. Well, apparently this is the devil church, according to Moms for Liberty. And NAACP received some threats from the chair of Moms for Liberty and called her out on it. And she denied it. And the screenshots that I'm, sent you specifically say, I'm going to go there, I'm a threat, and, comments like that. So of course they're going to take that seriously. Also in those comments, some of the other mothers in the group were, well, I don't know if it's safe to go down there. The things they have on their billboard are really worrisome. And what they had on their billboard was a message about warning people about white supremacy being one of the most evil things on the earth. And back earlier, they had a projection on their building that said Black Lives Matter. So apparently that's also threatening to these white Christian women that are clutching their pearls, going, oh no, we need to go in numbers so that we can be safe. It was very disturbing.
So I want to share with our viewers that you actually not only had school board members commenting in bigoted and homophobic ways in your chat, but that you actually were able to orchestrate a reverse coup in the sense that rather than, because we see images all over the country of these heinous things happening at school board elections where it looks like there's a majority of bigots showing up, but you actually out majority the haters. And can you tell us a little bit about that?
So I sat back for a good probably year and a half and just collected screenshots of everything that just stood out to me as being, hateful and self-righteous group. And I saved all the screenshots and sat on them and was waiting for the perfect moment to let them all go to expose what this group really is. And I just happened to meet the right person on the right side at the right time. And I decided to share all of these screenshots with this person. And they're an activist in our community that also stand on the right side of things with LGBTQ plus rights and just equal human rights and just decency, the way things should be. So I shared all the screenshots with this person who runs several different Facebook groups and is involved in a lot of different allyship and equality type groups. And it spread like wildfire. She spread out all the screenshots. There was probably over 200 shares of the posts. I don't know where they all went to, but they definitely went out. And this person went to the school board meeting and shared that with the school board, which two of the members were sitting right there. They're the two members when Moms for Liberty endorsed them. Yes, I'm sorry.
Yes, so got it.
Liberty endorsed these two school board candidates that were sitting right there in front of this woman that delivered the information. And she gave them copies of all the screenshots afterwards and said she wanted a full investigation into it because it was a breach of sunshine laws. Because now you have two school board members in the same group commenting on topics that should be made public. And quite frankly, comments that shouldn't have been made at all.
Wow.
And really just inciting, fear and anger and fueling more divisiveness. This is not helping our kids.
So they were violating the law. They were violating Florida law to engage in hate mongering.
Yes, exactly.
As Christians.
As Christians, yes. As Christians, of course. The latest thing they did that was really the one that put it over the edge is there's a particular teacher in our county amazing teacher, by the way. He's a history teacher, highly intelligent, highly knowledgeable, and he teaches history and he teaches African American history. And they've been accusing him of CRT. And that, I can assure you, is not happening. I have met this person. I've talked to kids that have taken his class, and they claim they have too. but he is not teaching CRT. He is teaching history, history as it happened. We do have some things in the past that might not be pleasant, but we need to learn about them and learn from them. And so he's being accused of that. And the Moms for Liberty cannot stand anything to do with equity. That is their absolute worst fear, is equity in the school system and social emotional learning and any kind of mental health help. They don't want any of that. So they're after this teacher. They post him constantly to make fun of him. They'll post his TikTok videos just to say that he's a creep and looks like a serial killer. And the most recent thing was that somebody in the group, I know where he lives, we should go protest at his house. And the Moms for Liberty chair said, yeah, let's do it. And the people liking the comments and participating in the chat were 2 of those school board members.
So they're engaging in a coordinated online harassment campaign of an educator.
Yes. Their goal is to get him fired. They don't know why he's still teaching in the school system. And they're making it sound like he's doing this on purpose because he can't be fired. And he wants to be fired because then he can sue the school. And he's just not that kind of person. He has so much grace when he talks about this. I think that's what gets them, is he's not reacting the way their intimidating factors aren't working on him.
That's incredible. I mean, they're trying to, in Texas, I just read this morning about, trying to reverse tenure. And tenure offers protections for teachers so they're able to speak their mind and speak truth to power and do what they need to do. So this is not at all surprising. And I'm very glad that the teacher is weathering it, because these types of attacks are happening all over America. And I am very inspired by what you said about being a former Republican, because I feel like some of the former Republicans and even former Trump supporters are like ex-smokers, and you're some of the best allies we have at this point. To other people who may be seeing things about their party that they don't like anymore, how would you encourage them to join you? What would you tell them to move away from a party that no longer represents the values truly of anyone with love in their hearts?
That's a good question. And that's what drove me to my change. I couldn't see leading by hate. I can't make my decision on things that I don't like and enforce that on other people. Everyone deserves equal rights. It does not matter what your color, what your gender, what your ethnicity. We all are people and we all deserve equal rights. And when I saw the divisiveness and seeing what was behind the divisiveness, I couldn't be a part of that. So I would tell people to try to lead with some compassion, even if you don't agree with someone's lifestyle or gender or religion or anything. It's not affecting you. Like, it is, how is this affecting you? You live your life, we live ours. Everybody has rights. And, if that's not being upheld, then you might be on the wrong side.
That was the most beautiful word you could have used. You couldn't abide by leading with hate. That is just so incredible. Thank you for those words. We will be using those moving forward prolifically. I do want to ask you, what in your community do you recommend to other people? And I think you said you were in Central Florida. What resources are there for people who have children who are part of the gay community, who are being marginalized and really attacked with these egregious groups and laws?
There are a lot of groups that are stepping up. internet's your best friend in this respect to research who is in your area for allyship. Some groups, the Instagram seems to be the best resource. I wish I could be more specific as to which groups are available and in the area, but I'm afraid that might identify too much for me. But I definitely reach out and ask people, talk to their therapists, because they have lists of organizations. That's all I can really say is just search
That's
these
fine.
organizations.
Yes, and actually, one of our good friends is the executive director of Equality Florida, and that's a good place to start if you're
That's
looking
a
for
great resource.
if you're looking
They're a
for
great
resources.
resource.
That's a great place to start because they can
Yes.
then give you all the different groups
Yes,
and
and
various
they're
chapters in
very
your
well
community.
informed. They're well informed, and they can direct you into any place. And if you're getting discriminated against because of your gender or because of your sexuality, that is also a place they can go, is to Equality Florida, and they'll help them with resources.
I just think that Florida, by trying to erase essentially the gay community, they are going to unleash so much that so many people fighting back that I don't think they ever anticipated just how much they're going to bring upon themselves as far as that goes. And you are an example of that. Is there? I don't know if Hi-Fi has any other questions. Go ahead,
I do
Hi-Fi.
actually. So one of the things we talk about on this program is cults, and cults of hate. And one of those cults of hate is obviously QAnon, right? And it is a brainwashing cult that exists mainly online, right? It gets people into these little chat rooms, which is what you're describing to us. And apparently, one of the candidates who won for the school board had to walk back some QAnon adjacent comments. Did you see any sort of inclination, any QAnon adjacent comments in that chat group with regards to anti-Semitism or Democrats being an evil cabal, things like that?
I'm glad you brought that up because that is something I forgot to mention. We do have screenshots of one of these school board members taking the oath with her QAnon group. And so there are definitely some receipts on that. And even recently, she has posted something on Twitter that references a movie that is anti-Semitic and kind of exposure herself again on that. So she has not changed her ways. This is not a thing of the past. She's still involved.
Wow, that is just how profoundly deep it is. And we have begged for 18 months on our show for our leaders to stand up and acknowledge the cognitive warfare and the fact that there are all these radicalization platforms that exist to radicalize people. And I know that the work that you're doing is making a difference in your community because you have had some repercussions and some of those school board members have had repercussions. But if you could say anything right now to the nation at large on just how serious it is that people work to stomp out hate in your communities, what would you tell them?
This is desperate. The LGBTQ plus community is exhausted. They're tired. They are feeling worn out from trying to just simply exist and to exist how they want to in this world. And they're losing their rights, and a lot of them cannot access healthcare anymore. There's been a lot of changes with that. And so physically they're suffering, emotionally they're suffering, and their rights are being taken away. And it's all started from this movement of dehumanizing them. And, quite honestly, it's genocide. They want to erase transgender people. They do not want them around their kids. They're afraid their kids are going to join the transgender ideology or whatever it might be. But I'm sorry, if your child is gay, they're gay. It is not going to matter, what they read. It's not going to matter who they talk to or what they're exposed to. What matters is that we support these kids in these times, and so they can grow up to be productive members of our society and be in our communities and grow up to be healthy LGBTQ adults. So I would say get involved, be an ally, learn. And an ally is an adjective. It's not just I accept LGBTQ community and I have no issues with it. Ally is acting. You have to be out there actively talking to people, actively putting people in their place when they say something that's bigoted. You really have to stick up for our LGBTQ community, because we are going to start seeing a lot of increased mental health problems and, unfortunately, a lot of more suicide. And going into next school year, we're probably going to see a huge dropout rate because, quite frankly, kids don't want to go to school and be dead named. They want to be respected. They have rights. They're humans. And if they want to be called by a name that's not their biological name, or if there's a pronoun they use, I think that's a pretty small ask. And I think we need to fight to have that respected.
Oh my God, Jane, thank you so much. I just did a report titled Reversing History, where I showed the hundreds of bills nationwide that are coordinated to attack this community. So this is a national crisis. And the gay community is not going away. They've withstood these assaults decade after decade in country after country. And what Jane just said is very serious. The gay community, which has been marginalized in the terrorist regime of Russia, they have the highest suicide rates in their population. 1 out of 4 gay members try to attempt suicide because of the way that they've been marginalized in the attempts of erasing. And you can't, every family in America, I dare say, has members of their extended family with some gender fluidity. So this is everyone's issue. But I'm so grateful that you, as a mom, not only are sticking up for your own family and your own kids, but you are working on behalf of, essentially all kids in Florida. So I salute you and applaud you. And I hope that many people are inspired by your words and take action in their own communities. Hi-Fi, is there anything else that you want to add?
I just have to say, I am very, very impressed that you, an amateur mom, went and ran some ops and took out some bad guys. Bravo.
Thank you.
I think there's nothing amateur about a mom, but I know what you're saying. An amateur operative.
That's an amateur operative, yes.
That's what I absolutely love. And yes, I guess one last line. Let's just give you the last line. Anything that comes to mind, Jane?
Just be careful who you hate, because it might actually be someone you love.
I got nothing. That was so beautiful. That was so beautiful. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
And we look forward to having you back with updates. So you guys just got to meet a very, very special mother. And when we said goodbye to her after we were done recording, she just said, you know what, mess with my kids and it's on. And I feel like, what a beautiful mantra. This is a woman who is taking her empathy and her love and applying it to good. So we're very, very grateful. And I want Jane to know that she is not alone in Florida. One of the beautiful things that is still happens occasionally on Twitter is you stumble across great citizens doing beautiful things. I want you to meet Bob, a South Florida waterman who has some words for America. Let's hear what he has to say.
This country is divided. And Trump and these Republicans have divided this country. You see, half of this country is full of bigots, racists, homophobics. And these Republicans know that. And they've been shoving this shit down these assholes' throats for 7 years. Oh, the blacks and the browns, your Asians, your Native Americans, your Hindus, your Muslims, they're all coming after us. They're going to replace all of us. And they're going to come after your guns and your Bibles. And it's worked. For all these years, it's worked. Nobody is born a racist. Nobody's born a bigot. Nobody's born homophobic, atheist. It's all taught. From a young age, it's taught. Or, when you become old enough to be a dumb fuck, you're taught then. Nobody's coming after them. Nobody's going to replace them. We're not coming after guns and Bibles. All we want to do is make sure people are safe. What if you go next door and ask your neighbor to stop firing his AR-15? And then a few minutes later, he gets that AR-15, walks over there and blows 5 people away. I wish I knew the answer to stop all this, but I don't.